Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nicoletta and I am a weird sister. If you have one and you need an extra, I'm here for you. If you don't have one and you need one, I'm here for you too. So June is PTSD Awareness Month. First video I did for June, we talked about how it's not okay to stereotype PTSD or, talk about it in a laughing manner. With that being noted, I do want to point out ways to maybe help with triggers and things like that that I have found work for me and that I have seen work for other people that I've met with PTSD. I am in no way a psychologist, psychiatrist, have any way to, say that any medical advice is true or sound or will work for you. None of that. This is purely just a video talking from experience and from learned understanding through my walk of life of what generally works best. Now, with that being noted, some things that I have found help with triggers that I've dealt with is general grounding, doing, sensory grounding. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you taste? What do you feel? What do you smell? What do you see? Etc. All those. That generally will get you right out of it. I have found it's also worked for me in my walk of life with PTSD. Just being able to say, like, I see the fan in my office, I hear the fan in my office, I feel the carpet beneath my feet. I also see that plant over there. I like that plant. I bought that plant the other day. I can smell my coffee. I can hear my dog barking outside, even though he just asked to go out. Raise your hand if that sounds like you and you have a dog. Every time he asks me to go out and I let him out and then he wants right back in. But that's generally what I find works for me. Counting back from 5, doing deep breathing, stuff like that. Anything you can do to refocus and recenter your mind back to where you were or what you were doing. A lot of times in the early stages of my PTSD and being diagnosed with it, I would note that I would get into like a complete freeze state when I would have a flashback. I would just completely freeze. It would be like I was there and I wasn't. I would just kind of sit there and dissociate. And my husband, who was then my boyfriend, or at certain times when I was still going through it, then my fiance, and now my husband, he would have to talk through me with it, start asking me questions and pointing things out to get me to respond so I would get out of that freeze state. So we would be sitting there and, watching Netflix or what have you. And then I would just go in a freeze state. And so then he would be like, what do you think about this? Or what's going on with that? Or, did you see that this happened? Or, he'd start talking to me and bringing me back. And that's kind of how I knew he was a keeper. One of the many reasons, because he kind of would stick with me through moments like that. But generally that helps, just from my learned experience. I'm not telling you to try that or, use that method without further consulting a psychologist or a psychiatrist to see if that would work for you or someone. But I am saying that that is a method that does work, has worked for me. And I've also heard about it working for other people as well. Talking to somebody while they're in that freeze state, just getting them to start talking so that they can get their mind focused on talking and not on whatever the hell is in their head. And I personally, like from my PTSD groups and things that I've been in, I've seen that with a lot of CPTSD people where they end up in a freeze state, and that talking and trying to move or getting moving just helps. I mean, you don't even have to go and do a full workout. Like, literally, just get up off the couch, start pacing the floor, start walking around, start talking. Talk out loud if you have to and you're by yourself. I used to talk out loud when I was by myself. I still talk out loud when I'm by myself a lot because it helps you to refocus your attention on things. Um, Also, the grounding, you know, what I see, what I hear, what I taste, what I smell, what I feel, etc. That generally works. That generally helps. Another thing I found that helps with triggers or helping somebody with triggers is asking them, where were you before that occurred mentally? If you can, and if they want to. Don't try and force somebody with PTSD to try and talk to you. Don't try and force anyone to try and talk to you, really, but especially with PTSD. If you can, and if they let you, where were you mentally before that? Because that'll, one, help them understand what might have caused it, and it'll, two, help you understand what might have caused it. So that next time you're around them, you might be able to help them look for triggers or field issues, if you will. Like for me, I was formally diagnosed with PTSD in 2019 from a car accident. I had pretty much had PTSD and didn't know about it all prior to that from other things in my life. But that car accident is what set my brain into overdrive. And then I ended up with a formal diagnosis from it. Now, with that, a lot of my triggers in the beginning were driving, cars, watching accidents, hearing about accidents on the news or in general. Someone saying, oh, so and so got in an accident. Did you hear about that? That would send me into a loop in my head, or flashbacks. Pretty much anything car related would send me into a loop. And it wouldn't just send me into a loop with just the car accident. It would go into the car accident and other traumas I've had in my life and then bring all those up. And it's like your brain is like this curious and confused child bringing up all these traumas and going, what about this? What about that? What about the other thing? You remember this? This happened. You didn't feel good with this. Why didn't you feel good with this? Where do I put this? I don't know. And that is what your brain is doing constantly all the time on PTSD. And when you have CPTSD, it's like having a whole classroom of those kinds of kids, bringing up all kinds of traumas and all kinds of bullshit all the time, incessantly, because you've had concurrent, repeated issues with PTSD. When you have CPTSD, it's like you have a number of complex trauma events that result in that complex trauma diagnosis, that complex PTSD diagnosis. So when I had those things, you just kind of have to talk to yourself and talk to your brain like it is a curious child sometimes. Well, we're not going to be dealing with that right now. We're going to go ahead, we're going to put that away. I don't want to deal with that right now. We're going to put that away. That doesn't need brought out. Can you put that back? And just constantly refocusing and doing that. EMDR really helped me. I did EMDR for like a year and a half, like hardcore sessions. Like it was like every few times a month. I had to have EMDR for a good year and a half. And then we continued it throughout as things got better or as I would go back, just as needed. but that generally helps. What I found, oddly enough, in between EMDR, because they make you use these, it's like sensory things in your hands and they vibrate. And they have you think about it and close your eyes and kind of walk you through it. And you have to find an EMDR licensed um, psychologist or psychiatrist to help you do this therapy. But in between sessions, I found that I have a toothbrush that vibrates. It's one of those electric ones. I would hold that in my hand every so often when I was at home by myself and refocus and do the therapies that we did in EMDR. And I literally helped cure my PTSD with my toothbrush. True story. Now, I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination to go and find a vibrating toothbrush or electric toothbrush and try that and do it, on yourself without consulting any mental health professional whatsoever. But I am saying that for me it worked. For me it worked. And it was something that my therapist noted. And she's like, I've never had somebody try that before. And I was like, I'm a weird sister. I do weird things to try and figure shit out. And that's what I did. And it worked. What else? I'm just trying to think here. So yeah, grounding, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, deep breathing, the toothbrush thing, if you want to try it, I can maybe talk to you more about it, but if you have PTSD, but I'm not going to go more in depth on it than I already have. You just hold it in your hand and then you just walk yourself through the EMDR therapy. But you have to have, a mental health professional tell you that's okay and have them maybe work on it with you. Yeah, that's pretty much what I found works. I will note those are all the things to do with triggers. What not to do if somebody is having triggers or flashbacks is make them feel like shit or minimize what they're going through. I have had people say, oh, come on, why can't you just get out of it? You're fine. Nothing's bothering you. Something very real is bothering me, and it's constantly in my head, and it's spinning and spinning and spinning, and it's out of control. And I've got a million things going on in my head, and I'm trying to get back to where we were at. Minimizing it. Oh, come on, get out of it. Walking away, leaving them there by themselves to deal with it. Sometimes when people are in that freeze fawn state with PTSD, that is when they are often at a great risk, usually to themselves or others, depending on the situation. And leaving them by themselves while they're dealing with a situation mentally is probably the last thing you should do because it makes you uncomfortable. If it makes you uncomfortable, maybe go and find somebody that can help or see if there's somebody that you can call for them before you go and abandon them. Or since they're maybe out of their comfort zone with a diagnosis, you put yourself out of your comfort zone for a minute and try and just help them cope. And just sit there with them. And all you got to do is ask, how can I help? What can I do? It's going to be okay. You've gotten through this before. You're going to be okay. reaffirming, encouraging words, just sitting there. Imagine they're just having a really bad day and they just need somebody to talk to and sit there. That's really all you got to do. But don't walk away. Don't tell them it's all in their head. You know, it's not real. You're making this up. I promise you they're not. I promise you, if they are somebody formally diagnosed with PTSD and they've told you that they have PTSD and they're going through a freeze fawn state or flashback in front of you, they're not making it up. It's very real. And they need someone to be there for them. So that's what I would not do. I would also not tell them what they should be doing. I've put out a lot of great tips, insights, and things just a little bit ago. Grounding, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, deep breathing, a method I've used before that personally worked for me with EMDR. Don't tell them that they should be doing those things unless they've gone through them with their psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, whatever mental health provider they have. And that person has confirmed that the person you're talking to, that that's a valid treatment for them. Don't go internet diagnosing people. And definitely don't think that because they're going through triggers and flashbacks and they have behaviors that might be similar to yours, that it's then okay for you to self-diagnose and feel you need to trauma bond with them, which is another thing I've had and another thing that I've seen, where people will see me or see someone with PTSD dealing with it, going through it, having a moment, and then someone, while you're dealing with it and you're going through it and having a flashback or having a trigger, no joke, will say, "Oh, I get that too." And then try and trauma bond with you through it while you're trying to work out shit in your head. "Oh, I get that too." How do you feel right now with that? Because I usually feel like this. Is that what it feels like? For me, it usually feels like that. What are you doing? Don't do that to them. Don't do that to them. It's not the time. And truly, I sometimes wonder that if you really did have that and you really did have those things, you would know that is the last thing you want somebody to do to you while you're going through it, right? So, don't try and make them talk things out if they don't want to talk them out. Don't, give them advice unsolicited. And don't, try and use anything in this video unless you have it verified as something that you should be doing, or the person you have a relationship with PTSD with is confirmed to have helped them. Those are my things. Those are my ways that I feel like we could help people with being supportive, triggers, issues with PTSD, and just helping people understand where this walk of life will take you with this diagnosis. It's not easy. It's very hard to deal with. It is manageable, but it requires certain levels of support, understanding, and emotional maturity of those around. I also want to even add maybe even mental maturity of those around, because anybody that doesn't think that a literal DSM-5 diagnosis is real, that person maybe needs to check themselves on their emotional and mental maturity. Just saying. But those are ways I've found to help deal with triggers, ways I've found that help others be supportive. And if you do have somebody with PTSD, or you are someone with PTSD, like myself, I see you and I hear you, and you are enough. So, with that, I will end my channel, well, not my channel, but this video, and I will see you next time. Bye.